And joining me at the Lowry in Salford are writers and critics Paul Morley, Miranda Sawyer and John Harris. Behind us here at the Lowry is the city of Salford and Manchester beyond, now a thriving centre for the arts, home to the Imperial War Museum of the North, just over the water, the Bridgewater Hall, and of course Old Trafford and the City of Manchester Stadium. The music scene has boomed here. Tony Wilson and co started the Hacienda in the 80s, and music is central to the new festival that opened last night. When the festival director Alex Poots was planning his programme, he wanted to make a huge impact with his opening show. The opportunity came when he was talking to one of China's most talented opera directors, Zheng Zhizheng, about Zhizheng's long-held desire to turn the Monkey King, the most famous of all Chinese myth cycles, into an opera. The 16th century book had been banned during the Cultural Revolution, but it was known here in the 1970s when a children's TV adaptation became a cult hit. The problem was Zhizheng couldn't find a composer. Poots then suggested gorillas as a perfect match. And so Damon Albarn and Jamie Hewlett went to work. Monkey opened the festival last night.
I was born and grew up during the Cultural Revolution, and there's no books I was allowed to read besides mouse book. My father had a friend who was a librarian who happened to hide all this full classic Chinese Ming Dynasty novel under her bed. Everything you learned was not allowed in public, so you learned how to treasure this mystery, this magic world for yourself, and then you don't tell anybody.
It's so perilous, yeah. So some of the acrobatics are truly death-defying, you know. So
there's an awful lot of flying, which involves big meaty guys
there are
cutting cables.
Yeah, moments where you're quite nervous, and you know, you're on your chair watching in the audience, and
we know all the things that go wrong.
That's like, oh thank God that's over.
Yeah.
The integration of animation, image, and sound was just, you know, work of genius. It's just so smart. It's just smart, and it's also very youthful and silly at the same time. And I thought, you know, you need people who have this kind of adventuresome, also has a sense of a childlike, to do this very story.
If the music gets too narrative, then it becomes musical theatre, and that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to try and make a whole new sound, sort of that you could say, well, this is possibilities for a new kind of opera. You know, trying to combine Western orchestral sensibility with Chinese instruments, and trying to find a way of putting in, you know, stuff, electronics and stuff, which is primarily comes from working with gorillas. It's something definitely that musically makes me feel, well, I'd like to have another go at it.
Would you?
Yeah.
So you've got a bug?
Yeah. I'm a bit annoyed that I've got the bug, because it's sort of, it does take over your life, really, doesn't it?
John, it was the most extraordinary collaboration, not least because the United Nations of an orchestra and everybody else that worked together across 2 years. Did it feel like something new?
Yeah, it felt really new and vivid and dazzling and all those sort of words. I mean, I think, because the media talks about these things reductively, I mean, it happened in the package there, this probably will come to be known as Damon Albarn's Chinese opera. But it's so about the brilliance of an ensemble piece. I mean, what Zhizheng brings to this, it's very interesting hearing him talk about the fact that he tuned into the monkey myth on a clandestine basis during the Cultural Revolution, because you get a sense that this is something that's just stated in one person's imagination. and it's really taken on this dazzling, vivid form over time. And what happens is that's translated so beautifully well because of the input of Jamie Hewlett, that you get to the second scene, which I think is called the Crystal Palace of the Eastern Sea and the Iron Rod, and it's like looking at a fish tank. I mean, your brain says you're looking at a cross-section of the sea, your jaw hits the floor, and then through scenes 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 9, that just happens time and again. I mean, the Shrek film, which we're talking about later, using computer technology, has spent millions of pounds on that level of kind of visual delight, and it does it right in front of your eyes, and it's real, it's amazing.
Miranda?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic kind of merging of lots of different elements. I think there's a slight difficulty in where it's staged in Manchester. It's travelling around to different areas, but it's staged in Manchester in the Palace Theatre, which is quite small, and there's certain elements that I felt were slightly pokey. There's a kind of translation of the Chinese, and you have to lean forward. And when I went to see it, a lot of people were very bothered about looking at the translation.
Decision. He wouldn't have it flying above.
No, I mean, I think that's quite right. And actually, for half the show, I didn't realise there was a translation, and you didn't really need it. It actually was a bit of a distraction. But the merging of all the elements did work fantastically well. But it was the animation that took it somewhere else.